And next, we'll have Mary Holland come speak, who's the president of the Children's Health Defense.
Sam, thank you so much. It's an honor to be here, and I know we've all been listening patiently, so if you want to stand up and just stretch for a moment, I would certainly invite you to do that. And I'm here to celebrate the 10th anniversary, and I'm here because Beatrice asked me to be here, and I have a feeling that's the case for a lot of us. Beatrice definitely inspires us. And I'm inspired by the courage of those of you who are seekers and guides, because you are definitely stepping out of the medical paradigm, and it's always hard to step out from the mainstream. So in the work that I do at Children's Health Defense, we are trying to address the chronic disease epidemic in the United States that's affecting over 50% of American children. And I guess it's something like 25% of people who are on psych drugs here. So we're in the same world. And there's a lot of parallels. I think there's a lot about preying on the powerless. In my world, it's preying on fetuses and babies, and it's making lots of money for pharma and the medical profession. And I think, as Robert Whitaker's books outline, there's a lot of fraud. There's fraud in clinical trials. There's fraud in advertising. There's incredible medicalization and over-medicalizations that leads to profits. There's censorship of the dissidents, and there's discrediting of the doctors who would speak out. And there's a total disregard for what we thought we had established back in 1947 after medical atrocities. So in 1947, American doctors led the doctors' trial against German doctors who had engaged in medical atrocities. And I'm just briefly going to read. This was about experimentation, but in theory, this has been expanded to preventive medicine and to all treatment. And it's one sentence, but it's a very important sentence. And I have to say, I was very proud to be with the Holocaust survivor at the 75th anniversary in 2022 in Nuremberg, the 75th anniversary of this code. And that is, the voluntary consent of the human subject is absolutely essential. This means that the person involved should have legal capacity to give consent, should be situated so as to be able to exercise free power of choice without the intervention of any element of force, fraud, deceit, duress, overreaching, or other ulterior form of constraint or coercion, and should have sufficient knowledge and comprehension of the elements of the subject matter involved as to enable him to make an understanding and enlightened decision. So just to say that, as Beatrice has said, freedom and choice is essential. It shouldn't really be called informed consent. It should be called informed choice. And I think much like is in the mental health world, or the so-called mental health world, in my world, there are also garbage diagnoses that don't take account of the individual. The autism spectrum, which is a big part of the world I live in, is a wide swath, and every person is different. But I am an optimist. We are in a battle of the narratives. There is a contrast between humility and candor that I think is what Inner Fire stands for, against the kind of hubris and corruption and camouflage greed that we deal with in much of the medical establishment. I'm optimistic that you all here are listening to your inner fire, to your inner wisdom, and I urge you to continue to trust yourselves and not the experts. Your inner voice will not lead you astray. And I am optimistic that we are at a paradigm shift, not only in psychiatry, but in medicine more generally. And I look forward to being here at the 20th anniversary. Thank you very much.